Welcome back. It's time for another take two with Therese video for Altenew, and I have a die highlight today, and it's this Dotted Swirls Debossing cover die, and it's pretty awesome. It doesn't actually cut, well, it kind of pierces little holes in or debosses little holes in an image, and it's a really lovely swirly sort of image, and I thought it'd be good to show you a couple of different ways to use it as a background today. Starting off, I've got a piece of white cardstock. It's the 80-pound Nina, and I'm stamping out my own background panel. Now, while I'm stamping out this panel, I'm also going to be stamping some flowers and leaves to use on my second card design, because I've actually got two cards to share with you today, and they're going to be using the same colors but look quite different by the time I'm finished. So the stamp set I'm using here is called Bold Bunch, and I've got the pretty blues. This is the baby pink and the iceberg color, and I'm just stamping out a random sort of floral background and then coming back in with the darker colors and adding the second layer. It's a layering stamp and a real fun, funky, easy, very easy to stamp out pattern here. So when I'm stamping a background pattern like this, I do like to stamp the larger images first and stamp some of the images off the edge. That way it looks like it's a cut piece of design paper. I'm just using my die here to measure sort of where I want to cut my panel off and to make sure that I've actually stamped enough to actually cover the whole front of a card. And I have, so I am just going to run this through my die cutting machine, just like you would a normal die on the normal sandwich for a thin wafer die. And I still like to hold it in place with some low tack tape, and that way I know it's not going to shift when I run it through. But how cool is that pattern? It's quite subtle, but actually debossing it, see how it is compared to the navy cardstock. I actually thought it'd be good to do one design on a pattern and one design on a plain cardstock, so you could actually have a good look at the difference there. So I've got a die cut from the Create a Wreath die, and it's the oval one, and I have stamped out a sentiment here. It's from a study in watercolor. It took me a few goes to get this right. My sentiment kept shifting on my misty lid, even though I was holding it in place with the die and had my guide in place by having it pre-cut. I don't know if you noticed that, but anyway, I had a few left over, so I did actually layer up my wreath in about 3 different layers, and then I just used my matte medium to attach it to my card front. So when I did add the panel to the front of my card, I made sure to add lots of adhesive, because the cover die does actually have a little tendency to warp the cardstock. It wasn't badly warped, I just would hate the idea of my card falling apart in the mail. Now these are the extra little bold bunch flowers and leaves that I stamped out while I was actually creating my background panels. It's a great time saver here, and I've just cut all of these out with some coordinating dies and creating a little bouquet on the edge of this oval wreath. Well, it's not a wreath. It's from the wreath die set, from the oval die cut. There you go. And some of them I did pop up with some foam squares, and others I just used the tape runner just to add some dimension. I really love this Dotted Swirls Debossing cover die. It is a lot of fun. I couldn't wait to play with it. So the second panel, the one that I've stamped out, I've added that directly to the front of a card as well, and this time I'm going to do a die cut heart and actually have the sentiment inside the middle. So I'm just kind of making sure that I've got enough cardstock here. It's another piece of navy cardstock, and I have actually used my powder tool. Because it's a dark cardstock, using lots of powder tool or powder on the actual cardstock will help with any of those bits of stray embossing powder that get around and make life difficult. Once the embossing is cooled down, I just actually wipe that powder away with an old cloth. And this sentiment today is a beautiful one, and it's from the no, it's not. It's from the Fancy Greetings set. The heart is from the Halftone Hearts and the Nesting Die set. And I simply just added some matte medium and popped that up with a piece of fun foam and attached that to the front of my card, also using some matte medium because that gives me a little bit of wriggle time until I can make sure that I've got it nice and centered using the grid lines on my mat. So don't forget to visit the blog, and you can find all of the supplies and the links to the blog below in the description. Till next time, have a great day. Bye.